Welcome back to the show, everybody. Yo, Money in the Bank 2018, some of that WWE wrestling badness that we about to sit up here and get into. Now, here's the thing. Now, I have been waiting for this pay-per-view to talk about this, to say this one thing. Builds are weird sometimes. And as a wrestling fan, I understand that sometimes builds can get weird, especially when you're building around a gimmick match. And I'm not sitting up here saying that Money in the Bank doesn't do good, because it do good. It do very well sometimes. In this instance, though, because you're building to this gimmick, and now instead of it being one brand, you have both brands, and things just got a little interesting for me, that it kind of threw me for a loop for a second, because here is what I know and understood because of all the time I've had to really think about this over the past month of building this pay-per-view. Is that, yes, at the beginning of this, I understood that there was no way in hell you were going to have 4 Money in the Bank ladder matches for two for the women, 2 for the men for each brand. It wasn't no way. So when they came out and said that we'll choose 4, the other side will choose 4, they'll get in the ring and somebody to become the champion. See, here's the thing, is that given ultimately where we're going to get to, as I scratch my beard, where this ultimately ended is kind of like, well, that makes sense. Because of how this pay-per-view was booked, is that it makes sense that it ended the way it ended and the match were booked the way they were booked, because of who could use the Money in the Bank contract, what they could use it for, because the Money in the Bank contract has always been a great storytelling device for WWE to swerve the game, do whatever they want whenever they want to, but they do that anyway. So it's just kind of like, okay, fine. And it's like, in given this that we're about to get into this, I have 2 words. I accept. I do. I accept what this ultimately was. So, now that I've accepted what this ultimately was, let's get to work. The Bludgeon Brothers are still the tag team champions, and I'm just like, okay. See, the thing I do not appreciate about the build-up to the best brothers, the too sweet me bro, is that they just threw the Usos to just the nothingness, and then for a minute they were sitting up here tagging around with Naomi, and it was just kind of like, okay. I'm like, I get this. I kind of get what this is you guys are trying to do with the Bludgeon Brothers. I am not 101% sold on it. I'm more like a 97 right now out of 101%. I'm a 97 on how this is going so far, because at some point this has to end. That the reign that the Bludgeon Brothers are running around the tag team division has to end at some point. So it's going to be interesting to find out if and when they can actually build some contenders to win it, because it's either going to be that or they're going to lose it in some weird screwjob fashion, which probably makes more sense, but more on that in the pay-per-view. I sit here and also wonder why the Woken Boys didn't defend the titles on this pay-per-view, and that's also probably time constraints, but still, shout out to the B-Team. I'm like, yo, they've done some good work since The Miz is over there on SmackDown, and we're going to talk about The Miz right about now-ish, because Daniel Bryan, for the I'm counting millionth time, beat Big Ass, and I'm just like, why in the fuck are they still in each other's orbit? That is the question I asked myself. That even though the match was actually entertaining, I enjoyed watching it, because it was a match that I watched, because I'm like, I came into this match expecting nothing, getting more out of the 0 that I expected, and it was entertaining enough for Daniel Bryan to whoop his ass. Here's a spoiler alert, just so we can start setting bricks. The Miz didn't win Money in the Bank, so let's just hope and pray to the horse-based God that this is leading up to Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at SummerSlam, because that's what we all want to see. Bullshit you not. That's just what it is. It's like, my thing is that I can't even sit up here and say that this is a waste of Big Ass in any way, because the boy ain't done nothing. I'm like, Enzo on World Star spitting rhymes now, so it's just kind of like, eh? We're trying here. We're doing exactly what it is that we can with what we have to work with. Hopefully they can do something for real with my boy Big Ass. And speaking of doing things with people who ain't doing things, shout out to my boy the Constable, my boy Baron Corbin. You know what I'm saying? He had some little interesting things to do on the pay-per-view and has been doing stuff. He cut his hair. He's sitting up here. I'm Stephanie McMahon's bumpy while Stephanie McMahon's on like Undercover Boss and taking like that 7-8 month break that she usually take after she wrestles at WrestleMania, whatever she does. Even though she made some little peppered here and there things during this Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey thing, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Oh, Bobby Lashley beat Sami Zayn, and that's probably all that needs to be said about that, because what the fuck even was this? The build to this was kind of like, because you know KO doing this thing, he in a ladder, he in the Money in Bank ladder match. Spoiler alert, he didn't win that motherfucker either. But I'm just sitting there wondering like, why? Now, I understand that given what Raw is, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is what a new Bobby Lashley in the WWE gonna really do this early on? Give Sami Zayn something to do, make him lie about why he couldn't be over there with that oil money, and just Bobby Lashley just, suplexing him all day and just holding him and making that poor man's blood rush to his head. And in other news, he couldn't even get the crowd in it because no one gives a fuck. One of the matches I enjoy watching was, even though my boy Seth won against Elias, I'm like, Elias clowned. It was a second there. Legitimately, I thought Elias was going to become the Intercontinental Champion. And that's what I like to see. I'm like, my thing is that I'm still not 101% down with Elias as a character, but I appreciate he's damn entertaining. That you need to shut your mouth while I play this damn guitar. I'm like, it was a thought that because they was going at each other. Seth sat up here, he sold the leg and did all this, and I really thought Elias was going to get him. I honestly think for real this ain't over. This ain't over. If Elias is going to sit up here and be in Seth's orbit for a minute, he may win the title with SummerSlam. That might be the thing that you try to cash in and give Elias a run, and then get Seth Rollins back up there to the championship card where he belongs, because that's my boy, Mr. Burn It Down, aka the Kingslayer. So it is what it is with that. So we'll see exactly what this is, but a great match that I enjoyed watching. You want to know who won the women's Money in the Bank? It wasn't Sasha Banks. It wasn't Ember Moon. It wasn't Natalya. It wasn't Charlotte. It wasn't Becky Lynch. It wasn't Naomi, and it wasn't Lana. So that leaves you with one person, Miss Twisted Bliss herself, Alexa Thick. And I'm just kind of like, why? Here's the thing. That match was fun to watch. Them ladies went out there and wanted to kill each other. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a little seeds you can plant, because I really think that this right here showed me one thing that I wasn't really thinking about for real, that don't happen outside of what I'm assuming they gonna do as they have been with Survivor Series or whatever, with brands going at each other, that you are gonna really get those inter-brand matches before you get to a pay-per-view that will actually house that. And I really think that this Money in the Bank ladder match sat up here and showed me that that's something they could really do if they wanted to. Let me repeat this one more time. Those ladies went out there and they clowned. As a wrestling fan, I'm just like, hell yeah. They went out there and they straight clown. Here's the question. I named 7 other women. Why did Alexa Bliss win this match? I still don't know. I cannot make any legitimate sense as to why she was the one that won it, given the build on both ends. Well, mostly, let me rewind that. Mostly on the SmackDown end, because, there was no build there. There was a lot of arguing, and then there was a lot of Iconics, and then there was a lot of Peyton Royce at some juncture, and it was just the ladies that are in the match versus the ladies that's not in the match, and they just arguing for weeks at a time because we need to fill time on a wrestling show, and I'm just like, okay, fine. On the other side of the ball on Raw, I really legitimately thought that Sasha had a good chance to be booked to win this match, given the build-up to it. I'm like, I already know you not really finna sit up here and put a rocket on Ember Moon this early. A great wrestler she is, but given how usually people who come up from NXT get treated when they first come up to the big show. You're not finna really do nothing that early to really shock it, given that what women's wrestling is right now in the game. Here's the other thing. I really don't think Alexa Bliss was supposed to win. I really think that this was a game for Becky Lynch to take, but because of the way that match ended, it was just kind of like, we need to do something. But given what Alexa Bliss will do, and maybe thinking about it mathematically, 45 minutes from now, 45 to like an hour and a half, because I think, given that I don't know what time is and couldn't tell you what time is, I'm like, because wrestling runs together when I watch it in a 4-hour sploosh of bloof. So it is what it is. A great match for all these ladies. We will talk more about Alexa Bliss and try to sort this out later. Given other things that we'll talk about, we'll talk about them when it's time. But those ladies killed it. Thank you for a great match. Never mind. Roman Reigns had a match against a dude who was a champion right around this time last year, and no one fucking gives a shit. How about that? There you go. Do you want me to talk about Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal? Because I don't want to. So let's sit up here and say it like this. Brock Lesnar's at home racking up days as being champion. We ain't got nothing for Roman ass to do, and Jinder Mahal just fucking around because he's Jinder fucking Mahal, who that we used him to get into India. Now that we got there, we ain't got to never fucking go back again. So put these two in a match and have Roman Reigns not be in the Money in Bank ladder match because, he'll just be headlining WrestleMania again next year. So, So it is what it is. Let's talk about this. We just kind of sort of talked about this to a listening degree. The SmackDown Women's Division. Carmella's still a champion. All because of James Ellsworth. See, there's something in this to be appreciated. And let me explain. When Carmella... As I scratch my nose, when Carmella finally won the title, finally cashed in Money in the Bank, for a second, the WWE, and whether that was Carmella the character herself, whether that was the creative team behind whatever the hell this is, they did the best they could. To eliminate James Ellsworth from fucking existence. Not that has anything to do with James Ellsworth in any way at all, but it was the perfect way to handle it. The perfect way to handle it because of who you're dealing with as a character you're writing for, that being Carmella, is that she made it all about herself because that's something you expect Carmella the character to do. It's like, well, we let go James Ellsworth so he could go back on the indie scene and go flip around and shit in a bingo hall because that's the magical word you use when people who leave and go do something else that's not the WWE. Here's the thing though. Asuka, right? Remember, Asuka, Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania took each other to the limit. Charlotte won because that's how it was booked. I still kind of question that was the end of that because Asuka could have had one hell of a reign and then got screwed out of the title later by sitting up her making her take an L, but not sitting up her making her look strong while she taking a fucking L, which I thought was going to happen. Ever since Carmella has been champion, ever since then, they have done two things well. Number one, screw jobs or not, or whatever the case was, Carmella sat up her and she beat Charlotte. Because you needed to do that. Because honestly, I really think they got something for Charlotte at WrestleMania. That's my honest thought, that they building something with her. Because they sitting up her, they've knocked her completely down to the bottom and she runging up. The way that they sitting up her writing her character. So when she ultimately gets the triumph of being the champion again, then it's going to be worth something. But in that time where you want to build that type of story, you have to fill it with something else. Carmella sits up here and does what all heel champions do at some point. I have beat the one person you said who acts like can't whoop. Can't nobody fuck with me now. And then shouting down and the light is away. Miss Asuka, her sexy self, just walks out there. You can't beat Asuka, as she does. For only James Ellsworth ultimately in the end to help Carmella win. Because again, they sitting up here because before the match started, You had that boy Young Grace sitting up here doing what he do because he is. I'm like, I love her and my boy. I love her and my boy Corey Graves on commentary sitting up here saying that this Asuka is a different Asuka and has been a different Asuka since she lost to Charlotte Flair, because that's the story that they need to sell to you. That Asuka isn't who she is because she was taken to the limit and ultimately lost by like that much, and that's the story they want to sell you. Given that we have to and sit through, as we as fans have to sit through this booking process of we need to book a gimmick match. That is the job that which we are trying to do. That is what we're trying to do here. So if you're not finna have Asuka in that Money in the Bank ladder match, then you need her doing something. At the same time, it's like when they pull a trigger on Asuka winning the championship, it ain't gonna be at no Money in the Bank. This is the same thing when I thought my boy Joe was actually going to beat Brock at Great Balls of Fire, which I still think is a dumb name for a fucking pay-per-view. Excuse me, but I really thought because of that build that I really thought they was like Joe was gonna get him because Brock was just gonna go home and milk cows and fuck his wife and play on his farm because that's what you do, I suppose. Regardless of this, this was the only way it could have ended. That Carmella ain't gonna be able to beat Asuka straight up because you couldn't book that and let it be believable. You couldn't. There had to be something. So I really appreciate that James Ellsworth back because it brings how Carmella got to this point in the first place. James Ellsworth won Money in the Bank for her twice, technically. Twice. You could technically say twice because that second time they ran it back, it was just to sit up here to solidify the first. So it's just as tainted at the second one because you shouldn't have to tie that out a second time because we have to erase history and pretend James Ellsworth didn't exist for reasons that we don't get and or understand. Here's the question after I've done all that rambling and talking. Where does what does this division go from this point? Right now, here's what I'm thinking because I'm on my head. Because of something that happens later, there's going to be another Money in the Bank ladder match at SummerSlam for the women. Because of what happened, because you listen to me talking, you know what the hell happened. So let's not sit up here and pretend we won't talk about it because it technically doesn't exist yet. But let's just sit up here and put it out there, right? That's the only sensible thing that makes sensible sense. I like saying the word sensible. The only sensible thing for it literally is to sit up here and have another Money in the Bank ladder match because of the status of the women Money in the Bank contract. That I didn't say this before, but let me say this now while it was on my mind. Why they didn't sit up here and introduce the Chris Benoit gambit, as in you can cash in on whoever. That what I would have thought would have been kind of cool. That the winner could cash in on whoever. So it's like if somebody win, they could go over to if a SmackDown superstar wins, they go on Raw, crack somebody in the back of the head. Congratulations, you are now the champion on Raw, and then take the title back to SmackDown. That'll been some dirty, grimy stuff. But then things get confusing that way. Things get confusing. It's hard to keep up with wrestling as the hell it is. You know what I'm saying? And we'll talk more about wrestling later. But regardless of that. It's going to be interesting to really see like where both women divisions on both brands go from this point on, given that this happened. And it's like you really think one doesn't affect the other. It kind of sort of does. But more on that, when it actually time to talk about it. Finally, Kinshasa has come to an end. This was the only way it could come to an end. I don't know when they're going to put a title on Shinsuke Nakamura, but it wasn't last night. AJ and Shinsuke went out there, hit each other in the balls a whole bunch, murdered themselves and murdered each other with anything that could be used as a fucking weapon. And all it took to end Shinsuke Nakamura was a kick to the balls and a phenomenal forearm. That does not sit up here and say that everything that happened before a Japanese man gets kicked in the balls and then get hit with a phenomenal forearm from AJ Styles, they murdered each other. Probably my favorite match of the night because they went out there and they killed each other. I'm like, because here the thing is. Here, let me tell you a spoiler alert of what would happen. If this would have ended in some old double count of bullshit or anything other than one of these men winning, I probably would have put a foot through my television. Not saying that, that I shouldn't be that enthused about the thing that I'm watching, but given what this used to represent of AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura being in a wrestling ring at the same time, and given how WWE has, weirdly perverted that in some odd way that makes less sense, but then most people don't have the same appreciation for what they did long before they did it. Now is, I appreciate everything leading up to this, because everything before was just, let's just dance around each other, kick each other in the balls at the same time. That contract signing is what sold it. AJ slapped the dog piss out of Shinsuke Nakamura, and I'm glad they sat up here and let that happen. Because, see, they needed to sell this. It's like Shinsuke beating AJ to choose the last man standing match. AJ Styles smacking the shit out of Shinsuke Nakamura when it was time to sign the contract. You need to sell this, because I have to sit up here and say, as a wrestling fan, it's like, as much as I enjoy watching them wrestle, they need to go find something to do away from each other for a while. They both need to go to timeout, go sit up here and go deal in somebody else's orbit. But then when you sit up here and think about it, whose orbit are AJ and Shinsuke gonna dance in? Because I sit up here and think about SmackDown for real. Who they gonna sit up here and put on Shinsuke? Who they gonna sit up here? It's like Shinsuke done sat up here, did whatever, and they had this long feud and it's over. Shinsuke, they may sit up here and sick him on Jeff Hardy maybe, because they had a match, on SmackDown last week. So if you're really trying to find something Shinsuke to do, maybe you'll put the U.S. title on him or something, because, they need something to do. AJ Styles, as I'm sitting right now, as I think about the build-up to this pay-per-view and this match, given what the rest of the roster is on SmackDown, who are they literally going to put up against the boy AJ right now? They got to build one hell of a contender, make sense of it story-wise, and sell it to me and you and everybody else. So that's the question that this sits up here and looms. Shinsuke Nakamura needs to go find something to do, and they need to find a worthy competitor to AJ Styles to sit up here and sell a feud. So it should be interesting to see if that's something they can legitimately actually pull off. I love this match. I enjoy watching these two wrestle, and I'm glad people got kicked in the balls and two men went out there in a wrestling ring and fucking destroyed each other. Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it. I've been looking forward to talking about this, because I knew that it wasn't going to go down the way the streets wanted it to go down. There was no way in Ronda Rousey's second match was she going to win the Raw Women's Championship. No way. No way. I appreciate I'm like, here's the thing. Let me sit up for this though. Let me get my get. You know what I mean? Here's where I am right now. Here's where I am. Ronda Rousey has been kicking ass. And I'm like, my thing is, I have my doubts about her. I really did. Not saying that she isn't a talented athlete in anything that she touches, but I wasn't 101% sure that she could really sit up here and do it. And that's one of the things that got brought out in this feud, was, can Ronda do it? It's one thing to be in a tag match with The Game and Kurt Angle and Stephanie, who are all seasoned performers. Even Stephanie McMahon, who is a women's champion in her own right, is sitting up here seeing, can Ronda Rousey hang? Because ultimately, I think they really want to do is I don't know if they finna sit up here like when it's time to pull the trigger on Ronda for real, or they gonna turn her into some Brock Lesnar X figure. Here's the thing. As I think about what I said, that they're not going to. Because, see, that would sit up here and that would set back everything the women's revolution is and what they say WWE represents. And being a part of that set that back a billion years by sitting up here making Ronda this monster champion and sitting up here doing what Brock do. It don't make no sense for the division. It's like, even when I think about that, and we'll talk about that in a minute, of what Brock and Paul Heyman do and what they represent to the Universal title, it's like it can't be the same for the women's division because of what it represents, especially Raw in this instance. Here's the thing. At the beginning of this feud, I was kind of confused, and here's why. Nia Jax, I love me some Nia Jax. Not only is she entertaining to watch, but she thick as all hell. She's super thick, and I love me some Nia Jax. That's my boo. Real talk. Regardless of physical attraction, just side look. My thing is that when Nia Jax sat up here and we set this in motion of Ronda Rousey sitting up here chilling with Charlotte. I got this. You want it? It's yours, my friend. All you gotta do is get in the wrestling ring and whoop my ass. And I appreciated that. And it started off as simply that I just want to see what you got right now. I'm like, you fresh, you new. Let me see. Let me put you through your paces like that. And I like, and with that, with the tone, that's what it said. That's why I kind of, was leaning at. They ain't finna put the title on her. I'm scratching my nose again. They ain't gonna put the title on her. So it just don't make any. It don't make any sense story wise to even do. Because Nia Jax been kicking ass as champion. Because it's like, again, my confusion came, and I'm just gonna sit up here and explain this. Was when the whole point of Nia winning the title from Alexa Bliss in the first place was this whole be a star angle we trying to push, and bullies and acceptance and all this stuff, which I appreciate because acceptance is important for all you humans out there. But the thing is that I really thought that this was finna go a whole different way. That Nia was finna literally become a bully to Ronda Rousey, who is going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame because what she has done to forward MMA for women everywhere. So there's also all of that, and they also like to sit up here and try to group Ronda as part of the women's revolution, 4 horsewomen, and all this old gang related shit, blah blah blah. Here's the thing: all of that given, this has been a wonderful thing to watch, build-wise. The match equally is so, but the build has been equally dumb to sit up here and see. Because my thing is, I'm seeing Ronda get more comfortable as being a part of WWE, that her mic skills are becoming better, that she's becoming better at understanding this, and then when it's time for her to pull the trigger, Ronda gonna be one hell of a champion to watch and sit up here and do her thing. But right now, putting her in something this early, you know what I'm saying, and ultimately with the way it ended, it makes sense because again, like I said, it wasn't no way in hell they was gonna put the title on her. But again, back to my point of I appreciated everything this build was, especially that part where some random woman gets in the ring with Nia Jax and gets murdered to prove a point. That's great. That's wonderful. Send somebody out there. That girl probably ain't gonna never wrestle again. But Nia Jax got over the point of that armbar don't mean nothing because I'll power bomb the shit out your ass. But then that didn't mean nothing because then Ronda Rousey made a tap while they said that we're talking about, can we all just get along with Coach in the ring? And then, yeah. There's that. Here's the thing. Remember earlier, Alexa Bliss won a contract that probably should have been won by one Becky Lynch, right? Alexa Bliss is the Raw Women's Champion because she took a briefcase and hit people really hard with it. I do not understand nor get in any way what the hell and why they would do this now, and I still don't. Everything that this was great, but I don't get it. And maybe that's just the thing, you know what I'm saying? The thing that maybe what it is, that maybe that because I appreciate this so much because I am still confused and I don't get it. I don't. And I wish I legitimately did, but I don't. So it's going to be interesting to see this thing that I get, but I don't get, trying to understand this of what are they going to do? Because I don't really think this is a game of let's feed Alexa to Ronda or let's sit up here and let's have more months of Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. There has to be some payoff here. And at this point, WWE got my attention to sit up here to try to pull the trigger to figure out what the hell is this actually going to be. Oh, Braun Strowman is Monster in the Bank, and this is something I legitimately question. There are also other things about this match I legitimately question, including why Kofi Kingston was in it, and no offense to Mr. 24/7. Or anything, but I really thought my boy Xavier was gonna be in it, then they swerved this. But regardless of that, this match was on some murder shit too. I'm like, I hope my boy KO is okay. I really hope that, Bobby Roode can pick his guts out from his spine because of that coup de grace. Cause I'm like, the fuck, I sat up here and watched that. I watched my boy, that boy leader of Balor Club, fly off that ladder. I was like, damn. And I was like, they sat up here like, but here's the thing. As much as this was great, is that I'm glad the Miz lost because, like I said at the beginning of this, him, Daniel Bryan, SummerSlam, bucket. The rest of these guys, you gonna do what you want. Kofi being in the end, hopping up on Braun Strowman back, but ultimately losing. That was great to see. I'm like, Rusev Day, he put in some work. My boy Bobby Roode put in work. I really, again, hope Kevin Owens is not dead. I really hope that being thrown off a 15-foot ladder by the monster in the bank didn't kill you, my dude. I'm like, here the thing was. This was a Braun Strowman showcase. Because, let's just put it the way it is. Braun Strowman is the most over guy in the fucking company. In general. Get these hands. I'm like, he was the tag team champion for 5 seconds with a 10-year-old. I'm like, only Braun Strowman could put off that and then sit up here and get up unscathed, and the streets still loving him. And now, the one thing that I truly don't understand. Braun Strowman don't need the briefcase. Braun Strowman don't need the briefcase. That's just what this is. Because Braun Strowman done been in Brock's peripheral. Done been in his face. And they ain't done nothing with it because they wasn't ready. So something's got to happen here. Because Brock Lesnar defends the title whenever the hell he wants. So what they gonna do? Braun Strowman gonna go to that farm while he's fucking his wife and tending to his cows, crack him over the head, bring him a referee on some old hardcore rule shit and take the title from him? Because when the last time Brock Lesnar have been on fucking TV? Anybody? I can't remember. This is gonna be interesting. Brock not being on TV is a thing, but Braun Strowman equally does not, in general, need this briefcase because he don't need the briefcase. So trying to figure out, first of all, why he won the match in the first place, to sit up here to get an excuse to put him in the onside of Brock Lesnar so that you can sit up here and sell this stuff until Braun Strowman wants to cash it in. And it's like, what do you do? Do you have Braun Strowman go on some straight up, like, I'm going to challenge you for the title with this pay-per-view, Brock, you better show your punk ass up and come get these hands? Is Braun Strowman going to sit up here during a match that they have to book because, Brock wrestles whenever the hell he feels like it against a challenger they have to then build up to? Is Braun Strowman just going to walk in the match, crack everybody in the head just like Alexa Bliss early in this pay-per-view and then sell it? I do not know. And that's where we are. I don't know. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that I do not know where this is going to go. But it'll be interesting to see. So wrestling is wrestling and wrestling is wrestling. But we got more show. So you guys sit down, stay tuned. We got more show right after these commercial messages.